Have you ever just stopped and wondered, what makes us tick? What's really driving our decisions, our feelings, our entire sense of who we are? Well, today we're going to take a look under the hood. We're exploring the fundamental blueprint that shapes pretty much everything we do.
So let's just jump right in with a massive question, maybe the question. What makes you, you? Is it how smart you are? Is it your personality? Or is it all the things you've learned and experienced along the way? It's a huge puzzle for sure, but psychology gives us some really cool tools to start putting the pieces together.
So we're going to think of ourselves kind of like a building, and psychology gives us the blueprint. Today, we're unpatching 4 of the most critical parts of that design: our intelligence, our personality, how we learn and remember things, and of course, how we deal with stress. You ready to see what you're made of? Let's start at the foundation.
All right, first up on the blueprint, intelligence. And right away, let's be super clear, we are not just talking about your IQ score. Nope. Think of this as the core processing power of your brain, your fundamental ability to make sense of and navigate the world around you. This definition from psychologist David Wexler really nails it. He saw intelligence not as just being book smart, but as a global capacity. So what does that really mean? It's about thinking with purpose, acting with logic, and basically just dealing effectively with whatever life throws at you. It's a much bigger and honestly a much more useful idea.
And that's because our brain power isn't just one single thing. It's multifaceted. You've got your classic cognitive intelligence, learning, reasoning, solving puzzles. But then you have social intelligence, which is all about how you read a room and navigate relationships. And then, so incredibly important, is emotional intelligence, understanding and managing emotions, both in yourself and in others. The big takeaway here? You can be a genius in more ways than one. Okay, let's move on to the next layer of our blueprint: personality. This is a fun one. If intelligence is like your brain's hardware, its raw processing power, then you can think of your personality as its unique operating system. It's your signature style, that consistent pattern of thinking, feeling, and behaving that follows you everywhere. Now, when scientists study this stuff, they generally have 2 main ways of looking at it. There's the type approach, which loves to put people in neat little boxes. You're an introvert or you're an extrovert. It's simple, but a little rigid, don't you think? That's why the more modern trait approach is so useful. It sees everything as a spectrum. You're not just an introvert, you have a certain degree of introversion. It's way more nuanced and, frankly, way more accurate. And that brings us to the big one, the most widely accepted framework in personality psychology today, the 5-factor model, or OCEAN. It's a handy acronym for the 5 core traits: openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. The key thing to remember is that we all have these traits. It's just the unique mix, the different levels of each, that makes your personal operating system completely and totally yours. So we have our hardware and our operating system. But here's the thing. Our blueprint isn't static. It's not set in stone. It's constantly being updated. And that brings us to our 3rd section, learning and remembering. This is how all of our experiences get written onto our personal hard drive. Making a memory is a pretty neat 3-step process. First, you have encoding, which is just your brain taking in new information. Then comes storage, where that info gets filed away for later. And finally, you have retrieval, when you pull that memory back out when you need it. Encoding, storage, retrieval. Sounds simple, right? Well, there's a catch. Those mental software updates, they don't always stick. Way back in the 19th century, a psychologist named Hermann Ebbinghaus discovered something pretty wild about how quickly we lose information. It's called the forgetting curve, and honestly, it's a little shocking. Get this. Ebbinghaus found that without any reinforcement, we forget almost half of new information within just 1 hour. An hour! After a day, 2/3 of it is just gone. And by the end of the week, about 75% has vanished. It's kind of crazy. And that right there is why learning techniques like spaced repetition are such a game changer. You literally have to fight against this natural curve. This just begs the question, doesn't it? Why is our memory so leaky? Why do we forget things we genuinely learned and wanted to remember? Well, there are a few main theories. First, there's decay theory, which is basically use it or lose it. If you don't access a memory, it just fades over time. Then there's interference theory, where other memories kind of crowd in and block the one you're looking for. But the most relatable one has to be retrieval failure. That's that frustrating tip of the tongue feeling. You know the info is in there, but you just can't find the pathway to it. It's like a lost file on your computer. Okay, for the final part of our blueprint, let's look at what happens when our system gets pushed to its limits. This brings us to stress. It's an unavoidable part of life, we all know that, but how our personal system responds to it, well, that's crucial.
So, what even is stress? It's our body's response pattern. It's the whole collection of physical, emotional, and mental changes that kick in when a challenge throws us off our balance. The important thing to get is that stress isn't the event itself, it's our reaction to the event.
And here is a critical distinction. Not all stress is bad for you. No way. Psychologists split it into two types. You got eustress. That's the good kind. It's the pressure that motivates you before a big presentation and actually sharpens your focus. And then there's distress, the negative kind that just causes anxiety and wears you down. It's the same system, but with two very different outcomes. So, how do we manage the bad stress and maybe even harness some of that good stress? Well, according to author Daniel Goleman, a massive factor in life success isn't your IQ, but your emotional intelligence. Hey, remember that from earlier? He actually attributes up to 80% of a person's success to their ability to manage their emotions, which is really the heart of managing stress effectively. And sometimes, in really extreme cases of stress or trauma, our minds might pull out a more drastic coping tool. This brings us back to forgetting, but in a very different way. Sigmund Freud had this powerful idea he called motivated forgetting. He famously suggested that sometimes we forget because deep down we want to. Our subconscious mind actively pushes painful memories away to protect us. It's a heavy concept, but a fascinating one.
So there you have it, 4 key parts of your personal blueprint: your intelligence, your personality, your memory, and your response to stress. These aren't just abstract ideas. They are the active, dynamic systems that make you who you are. So the real question now is, knowing a little more about your own design, what's one way you can start improving it?